Hello, and welcome to the second episode of our podcast series, Sustainability in Construction. Last week, we spoke in general about what we'll be covering over the series, and today we are here to talk about sustainability, but about materials and resources.
Great to be back. And last week we talked about the overall depth of the or impact of the sustainability in construction. Today we will talk about specifically the material and how we resource this material.
Right. So, sustainable materials, when we say it's not just a trendy word, it's become a necessity. And when today we'll be talking about how we assess these materials, what constitute to being called as sustainable materials, and uh, what are the different certifications if we are using to build responsibility and grade. So, what are sustainable building materials? When we talk about sustainable building materials, we are referring to those that are environment friendly throughout their life cycle, which means from its extraction to its end of life. And this feels that those materials are renewable, recyclable, which will have low carbon emissions or all of these. Some key qualities include low carbon footprint, reusability or recyclability, non toxic or low emission properties, sourcing from renewable and abundant resources, and ideally, they contribute to better indoor environment quality. And in the UK, we are seeing an increase in the use of such materials like recycled steel, which saves energy and raw resources, bamboo, which is a fast growing and renewable source of material, low carbon concrete, which uses less clinker and can include fly ash or slag, and even cross laminated timber CLT, which is a very popular use in mid-rise structures for its low carbon profile and strength.
I have seen nowadays in many parts of the London they use cross laminated timber, which one we call CLT, and is fantastic material and is very low carbon one. And not only this specific material, but I have seen locally resource can be the greenest option as well.
So let's move on to the next part. It's called Understanding Life Cycle Assessment, or as we call it here, the LCA. Now, it's a bit more technical when you say about LCA because it considers things like how we quantify a material's impact on the environment from the moment it's made, that is, from its cradle to its grave. And it considers things like how energizes the environment.
So that includes mining, manufacturing, and uses of it, and when is discarded as well.
Yes, like for example, a material could be very easy to make, but in the process of its running, if it emits any sort of chemicals or harmful emissions comes out of it, then we cannot call it sustainable anymore. So LCA gives us a complete picture. It helps us understand and make informed decision when it comes to picking such materials which are green and sustainable.
Sometimes we think waste is a problem, but it can be a bigger resource for the new building and new development as well. If we can reuse the waste or construction waste, what we get it from a demolition site or unwanted site, or whenever we require a remodification of a building, if we can properly reuse those materials like bricks or steel, I think that can be a great resource for obviously not only saving the cost, also saving their carbon footprint as well.
True, like how he mentioned about steel, we can reuse steel and still not lose its quality. We can break down and use concrete. We can reuse it to make pavements, roads, etc. It's again very reusable. And if you talk about wood, wood is used majorly in the UK, and with the resources that we have now, it can be reused. We can use it for making furnitures, flooring, and even formwork for the basic structure of a building. So the uses are numerous. And it in terms of its circular economy, where we keep using the materials for as long as we can use it. So now let's talk about some certifications and standards that we have here in the UK. And for companies and clients who are looking into make informed choices and decisions, we will just list them out. And the most majorly seen one is EPD, which is Environmental Product Declarations, which gives us a proper clarity on if the material is resourced environmentally in a environmental friendly way or not. So one is that, and we have FSC or PEFC, which is for timber, for responsibly sourced timber. And we have the standards like ISO 14001 for manufacturers and sustainable operations. And we have BES 6001, which certifies the responsible sourcing of construction products. So we have all these standards here in the UK, and we should all be exploring into it more.
So if we are resource the material with the green certificates, and we know LEED and BREEAM, there is a two other major organization or a standard in the UK, if we talk about that give a environmental sustainability and give environmental stability, and what gives us a certification that is really, really important in the UK. So we know it when we do have a condition nowadays from council to giving some sort of change of use or a new building. So we must respect the council recommendation. One of them is BREEAM. If I talk recently in one of our leads project, we use few material, which one is reusable and greener certified. So that gives our client fulfilling the condition of BREEAM and getting a certificate and a proper BREEAM scoring for their project.
Let's look into some of the real life examples now here in the UK. And we all know we have the Sterling Prize winner in Norwich. It's a residential project which they have wonderfully designed and, may I say, sustainably awakening. And it's called Goldsmith Street. And it's wonderful what they have done with the building material. They've used clay bricks and lime plaster, and they've used some passive house standards, and the energy in those buildings have significantly reduced. So if you inquire those residents there, they're quite happy living there the way it is designed. So that's a very big take on sustainability. And there is another project in Oldham in Manchester. It's called the Maggie Center, which is entirely made of CLT. And if you there's not a project, it's a cancer center, and it gives hope. The wood stands there as a hope for people, because normally when you say cancer center, it's the usual ones. And if you believe it or not, the environment that we are present, even the built environment, has an impact on the health as well of a human being. So that was a very good approach from the team. And another one I could say is it's a large scale commercial project. It's called 100 Liverpool Street. And it was a very old building, and they renovated the inside of it, the interior fit out. And they've tried and retained as much as they can and introduced new materials, mostly glass and some office spaces, but without without touching the integrity of the actual building. So again, that's a very wonderful take on sustainability and using materials which are sustainable and which can be reused.
So what we see here, a shift in a construction, the way we think, is not only a individual building or a small house, is like a big tower office block. So what we did in our office, we have our office, which one is a 2 floor, but we converted to attics. And then what we did, we recycle all our bricks, which one it came out from a chimney. As we know, brick have a life left because is nothing happened to the bricks because it was inside. Yes, there was some color shading and few bits and bobs, but what our people did, we completely reuse it. And if we have a time, we can show in any other episode how beautiful it looks. So it's not only in one space, but now it becoming a culture. And we ask and we request people, wherever is possible, we should reuse whatever it is possible from a construction site, what can be reused.
So that wraps up today's episode of Sustainable Materials and Resources. And the materials we choose shape not just today, but it has a wider impact on our planet and our tomorrow. So choose wisely.
And what we think is not only choosing a recyclable material, the way we completely think and plan for our buildings and our project, that's really matter.
And next week, we'll be talking about energy efficiency and building technology. So we'll talk about passive designs. We'll talk about smart building systems. So I hope you'll all be there with us. Let's
Let's keep building better.